Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ariste nihate dvaitye Krishnena bhuta karmana Kamsa yataha Bhagavan Narado deva darshanaha. After Aristasura had been killed by Krishna, who acts wonderfully, Narada Muni went to speak to King Kamsa. That powerful sage of godly vision addressed the king as follows. Purport. The term Deva Darshan can be understood in many ways, all of which are consistent with the context and purport of this narration. Deva means God, and Darshan means seeing, or an audience with a great personality. Thus, Deva Darshan, a name for Narada Muni, indicates that Narada has attained the perfection of seeing God, that getting Narada's audience is as good as getting God's. Since Narada is a pure representative of the Lord, and also that Narada's audience is as good as that of the demigods, who are also known as Devas. That there are all these meanings of the term Devadarshana reveals something of the richness of Srimad Bhagavatam's language. From the Puranas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has quoted 20 verses describing a conversation between Radha and Krishna that took place after Krishna had killed the demon Arista. This conversation, so kindly quoted by the Acharyas, describes the origin of Radhakund and Shyamkund, Radha's and Krishna's bathing ponds. The verses are as follows. The innocent young gopis said, "Ah, Krishna, don't touch us now, O killer of a bull. Alas, even though Arista was a terrible demon, still he was a male cow. So you will now have to undergo atonement, just as Lord Indra did after killing Dhritarashtra. But how can you purify yourself without going to the trouble of visiting every single holy place in the three worlds?" Krishna replied, "Why should I have to wander throughout the entire universe? I will at once bring all the countless pilgrimage places here and take my bath in them. Just watch." With this, Lord Mukunda struck his heel on the ground. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 36, entitled The Slaying of Arista, the Bull Demon. Text number 16. In yesterday's class, we were discussing from Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Chaitanya Shikshamrita, how he describes that when Krishna comes to this earth, he has limitless pastimes or leelas. Some are nitya leela, the intimate loving exchanges with his devotees that take place forever in this spiritual world and are manifested here in Bhoma Vrindavan, the Vrindavan of this earth planet, like the Ras Leela, like the Leelas of Yashoda and Krishna, the Leelas of Krishna playing with the Gopas, the cowherd boys, in the pastures of Brajbhumi. And there is also Naimitika Leela, which is the occasional pastimes that Krishna especially manifests within this material world. Among those are the liberation of many demons. They are to fulfill one of Krishna's promises in Bhagavad Gita. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanardaya sambhavami juge juge. That again and again I come to this world to protect those with piety and devotion, to reestablish the true principles of religion, and to cleanse the world of demoniac influences. At the same time, whatever Krishna does can serve limitless purposes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur especially focuses on how, in order to cleanse our hearts through bhakti and develop the seed of prema or love that's within our heart, many weeds will grow along with it as we're doing this watering process. And many obstacles, both from outside of us and from within us, will come to impede or distract our progress. Some of the principal distractions or obstructions are represented by these demons. We've been reading about Aristasura. We were speaking yesterday that according to the Vedic literatures, a bull represents dharma. And dharma stands on 4 legs: cleanliness, truthfulness, austerity, and compassion and mercy toward others. But unfortunately, the tendency within us, and very rampant tendency of people all around us, is, in the name of religion, to not base our spirituality on these 4 principles. Krishna tells in Gita, in this age of Kali, which is an age of quarrel and hypocrisy, what is religion is taken to be irreligion, and what is irreligion is taken to be religion. So here is a very powerful, envious, arrogant person who took the sacred system of yoga and misused it for his own demoniac purposes. In this world, even the best gifts that God gives us could be used by the ego, the ahankar, as weapons against God. Those things which are meant to bring humility and compassion, those same things could be used as weapons of arrogance and cruelty. Education. Education is power. The people creating the bombs that are threatening the world and the environmental disastrous situations that's polluting the world, they're not just the simple farmers in the villages. They're people with gigantic educations from the highest universities. So education could create immense good or immense harm, depending on the character of who possesses it. Power, influence. We see how kings like Parikshit, Yudhisthira, he had the power of king and he made the whole world happy with devotion. Previous to him, Duryodhana had the same throne, and he tormented the innocent with that power. So here is this person who did lifetimes of tapasya and yogic meditation and austerities and sacrifices, yajnas, and with his power, due to the bad association of Kamsa and others, he manifested the form of a giant bull that represents religion, dharma. But his purpose, instead of to develop love for God, he was competing with God. He wanted to kill God to put himself in that position. And he really believed he could, because he was so infatuated, so intoxicated by his power, his knowledge, his influence. And he really thought he was right. At the same time, as we quoted Bhaktivinoda Thakur yesterday, Namaruchi Jivadoya Sarvadharmasar. That the essence of all dharma, whatever you call it, is to develop love for Krishna, to develop love for God, by developing a taste for the chanting of the names. And the testimony that we're actually having a taste for the chanting of names and love of God is manifesting in our hearts is Jivadoya. We become compassionate. We become very kind and merciful to all living beings. Jivadoya. Not Indian doya or American doya, or black or white or red doya or Hindu doya or human doya. Jiva. Jiva means every plant, every insect, every fish, every animal, every species, every bird in the sky, every type of human. Wherever there's life, we see Krishna within them. A child of Krishna. But Aristasura, he was terrorizing everybody, and his goal was to kill Krishna and kill everyone in Vrindavan. And in the previous verses we find he was so big, when he was galloping, it was creating such trembling in the earth, like earthquakes. And the innocent mothers of the cows and the goats and the sheep and the buffaloes and the gopis, the humans who were pregnant, they were having miscarriages. It was so horrifying. But he wasn't thinking, look at how much suffering. It was just about him. That's the nature of the ego. Humility makes the heart very soft, where we actually feel compassion, kindness, paradukaduki. Where other people suffering, we relate to it. We identify with it. We suffer with them. And other people's happiness is our happiness. But the false ego is, we're no longer Krishna's in the center. I'm in the center. It's about me. It's about my popularity. It's about my sensory satisfaction. It's about my position. It's about my wealth. It's about my accomplishments. The Gita tells that bewildered by this ahankar, false ego, prakrite kriyamana niguna karamani saravash, ahankara, we think ourselves the doer of our activities. We forget that Krishna is the ability in man, Krishna is the intelligence of the intelligence, Krishna is the strength of the strong, Krishna is the source of everything. When we take ourself out of the center, then we're actually liberated. Then only can we find happiness. Because we can't take ourselves out of the center unless we put Krishna in the center. And that's truth, that's reality. And through that process, our love for Krishna and our jivadoya, our compassion, awakens. So Krishna effortlessly grabbed the horns of Aristasura, threw him down about 18 meters away, just to humiliate him. Because Krishna didn't grow into a big giant warrior. He was just a little cowherd boy with a little forest flower garland in his shoulder. He didn't even go in a pose to wrestle him. He just stood with his arm on his friend, smiling. Aristasura got up again and was even more angry, and Krishna flipped him over, and then with his very soft, tender little foot, he kicked him. And that was the end of Aristasura. Today's verse. After seeing this, Narada Muni, he wanted to serve Krishna's purpose. He understood that Krishna had performed the wonderful pastimes that he desired in Vrindavan. And now it was time for him to rescue Devaki and Vasudev, his mother and father in Mathura. And it was time to fulfill his original purpose of coming to this world on one level, where Brahma and the Devas all prayed, Krishna, please come and free us from this Kamsa and all of his associates. They're causing so much suffering and illusion. So Narada Muni, he was such a great devotee, and he was so inconceivable in his kindness to everyone that everyone liked him. Even if they hated everything he represented, they liked him. Does that make sense? Kamsa hated everything Narada represented. Narada Muni is the author of the Bhakti Sutras, which is describing the most intimate love of the gopis and the gopas for Krishna, and how to attain that love. And Kamsa, his whole purpose in life was to kill Krishna. He sent one after another, and never gave up his cause. He's the one that sent Aristasura and Putana and Agasura and Bakasura and Vatsasura, Vyomasura, Keshi. So Narada Muni is coming to meet Kamsa. But Kamsa understood that the powers that he gained was from getting blessings of great souls and from performing yogic austerities. So he didn't want to do anything Narada wanted, but he wanted his blessings. So Narada came in and Kamsa honored him. And Narada is now telling Kamsa about the kind of stuff Krishna's doing. And Kamsa's becoming outraged, and he's going to make a plan to bring Krishna out of Vrindavan into his own. In sports, you're supposed to have an advantage on your home court or whatever it is. Yes, in your home field. Okay. Krishna and Kamsa was sending his best warriors to Vrindavan, and they were all. Krishna never used a weapon for any of them in Vrindavan. Never used a Sudarshan chakra, never used a club. Putana, he just sucked her breast with his lips. He killed her with his lips. and Trinavarta took Krishna away in the sky with the intention to kill him, and Krishna was just a little tiny baby. He was only about this big. And he was so high up, and like a baby, when you take a baby really, really high up in the sky, they want to hold on to something, so he just put his arm around Trinavarta's neck, and this little baby arm, so soft, and he just went... and he strangled Trinavarta. And he became very heavy, but he didn't increase in size. How is that possible? How can something this big that weighs about 5 pounds all of a sudden weigh 10 million pounds? That's what Krishna did. None of his features changed. Yashoda Mai picks up Krishna all the time. She's just a little gopi. But here's this unbelievable, powerful warrior could not hold up Krishna. So Krishna did everything in such a childlike way. For Kaliya was trying to bite Krishna with hundreds of hoods and poisons, and Krishna just danced. And with his dancing feet, he defeated Kali. So this is Vrindavan. So through Narada's influence, Kamsa understood, sending to Krishna's home, it's not working. I need the advantage of being in my home. So he was going to invite Krishna to Mathura, where Kamsa had all sorts of plans, Kuvalayapida and Chanuramushtika. And Narada Muni, his only interest was to be an instrument to fulfill Krishna's purpose. And in this particular verse, it's described, because Narada Muni was seeing Krishna everywhere, because of the love for Krishna that was enshrined within his heart, whoever saw him, it was like seeing Krishna. Vidura, the great uncle of the Pandavas, when he came to meet Yudhisthira Maharaj after long years of pilgrimage, Yudhisthira Maharaj recited this verse, Bhavadvida Bhagavatam, that great devotees like you are holy places personified. All the holy places in all the worlds are manifested wherever a saintly person is. Why is that? What makes a holy place holy? The presence of God. We go to Jagannath Puri because Jagannath is there, Krishna. If Jagannath was not there, only tourists would be going to Puri to bathe in the beach. People go to Puri because that is where Jagannath is giving his darshan. And during Rath Yatra, we were there last year. And according to government statistics, there was 1.2 million people on the same road at the same time. Dancing, singing, coming to see Jagannath. Vrindavan, by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and other great acharyas who he has empowered. Vrindavan is a simple forest. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in that simple forest, which was just simple little villages in the forest, he told the 6 Goswamis to make a holy place there and build temples. Not just little temples, Govindaji temple, Madan Mohan temple, Radha Gopinath temple, Radha Raman temple. Prabhupada wanted us to establish holy places. Sometimes people say, well, why do you want to disturb the village atmosphere of some place and build, the place of pilgrimage? What did the Goswamis do in Vrindavan? That's our Narottam Das Thakur said the path of perfection is to follow in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis. Out of compassion. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he created a scene where now there's over 5,000 temples in Vrindavan. Why? Because Krishna's there, because Radharani's there. People go to Ayodhya because Ram, Sita, and Lakshman are there. Chitrakoot, Rameshwaram. People go to Varanasi because Mahadev, Shiva's there. So places are holy because of Krishna's presence. But according to the Shastras, more than anywhere else, Krishna's presence in the hearts of his devotees. Even the Bhagavatam tells that if you go to a holy place just to bathe in the rivers, you only get a small benefit. The real benefit of going to the holy places is to meet and hear from the holy people in the holy places, because they reveal the holiness of the place. Otherwise, we see much but understand little. But wherever great devotees are, Tatra tishtami Narada yatra gayanti mattata, wherever they are chanting the holy names, wherever they are speaking about the Lord, wherever they are serving the Lord, wherever they are showing compassion on behalf of the Lord, all the holy places are there. So by seeing Narada Muni, Kamsa was seeing Krishna. Because Krishna was manifesting in his words, Krishna was manifesting from his heart through everything he did. That's bhakti. Jivara swarupoi Krishna Nityadas. When we really believe and live by this principle that we are eternally the servants of Krishna, then Krishna manifests through us. And Narada Muni, in his own special, inconceivable, unique way, is transforming Kamsa's heart. And although Kamsa had no idea what was going on, Narada Muni was actually setting up this scenario where this most evil, demoniac, violent, arrogant person was going to get liberation. So while this is going on in Mathura, Narada Muni is telling Kamsa, you know what Krishna, you know what this little boy Krishna has just done? Do you know who he really is? Did you know that in your previous birth, he killed you? And he told him all the details of how he killed him. And he said, and now your name was Kalanemi, and he was Vishnu, and he killed you like this, and now he's come back to kill you again unless you get him first. Sometimes preachers are not stereotype. Sometimes they do the needful to actually help people, to save people. You know, if somebody's in a battlefield and they're dying, and, you know, a medical surgeon is there, and, you know, he sees the person laying there, and the person says, save me, and he says, well, I don't have the proper sanitation according to the laws of medicine. I don't have the proper sterilization, and I don't have a proper operating table, and I don't have the proper instruments, and I don't have he just does what he needs to do to save his life. That's kind of what Prabhupada did when he went to the West. Somebody asked him, how did you start a movement like this? You know, so many temples, so many books, so many everything. And Prabhupada said, there's a story of a man, he was walking down the road, he didn't have anything, he had no money, no help, and he saw a pumpkin. And he picked up it was an old dried pumpkin, and he just picked up the old dried pumpkin. And then he walked a little further and he saw a wire. So he picked up the wire, and he strung the wire, and he found a stick. He picked up the stick. He attached the old stick to the dried pumpkin, and then put the wire across it, and made it into a musical instrument. Doom, 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 like that.